Yeah.
Honourable Shane Jones.
Kia ora. Based on what other parliamentarians have said this afternoon. Sir, I want to briefly follow up on what the Minister has just said. All parliamentarians in the House today during the course of the week would endorse that the major focus at the moment ought to be on families, the infants, and obviously households that rely on the product that has developed a very bleak reputation over recent times. Most certainly, sir, there are queries and questions about the institution, an institution that enjoys an extraordinary level of privilege in the commercial world of New Zealand and holds an inordinately important status as the 8th largest, indeed the largest, trader of dairy products. So these are questions that go to the heart of the economy and go to the heart of key regions around New Zealand. So although, sir, health and the well-being of the mokopunas and the families that rely on this product around the world eclipses everything else, at the appropriate time, very searching questions will be put forward and answers will be demanded. And I'll just say it at that, sir. Now let's talk about jobs, sir. I heard the member from Northland, Mike Sabin, unwisely insult Winston Peters earlier today and say to him that, sir, he wouldn't know about Northland because he never goes there. I've sort of found, sir, for a first-term member, I'm really disappointed, sir, that my fellow Northlander has turned on Winston like that. I've got no doubt, as time goes on, more senior elements in his own party are going to say, oh, for goodness sake, don't say that. We have a certainly different view about Winston. Well, Winston has a clear view about them, sir. Winston Peters, I'm referring to. But let's talk about jobs. So Northland's job stats are bleak. They're bleak because there's no specific set of policies designed to turn around the regions of New Zealand. And so perversely enough, one of the areas that's going to suffer if, sir, we don't completely hop on top and solve the issues around the growth potential of our dairy industry are the regions. Why are the regions starving, sir? Well, infrastructure has been starved in relation to regions. Now, I'm not saying, sir, that population concentrations are unimportant, but, sir, look at where much of the primary produce, look at where much of the export raw material comes from. It comes from the regions. So don't undercut Kiwi Rail. For a relatively small amount of money, from Waido, Gisborne through to Heretaunga, reinvest in that particular portion of our rail infrastructure. Don't neglect that region and treat those regions as somehow their status as New Zealand is less important. Secondly, sir, a hobby horse of mine, forestry. Why is the Minister responsible for the Canterbury rebuild not making a priority, as Jim Anderton and Helen Clark did, and ensuring that all Crown projects in respect of the Christchurch rebuild have as a priority the utilisation of timber? The utilisation of wood. Now, sir, that's not to say you exclude concrete, you exclude steel, although far be it from me to say and become a sudden authority on carbon footprint, etc. But the reality, sir, is that our forest resource and the secondary and tertiary products from that resource have a great role to play in our own economy, neglected by the current. Well, actually, the forestry industry don't know who the current minister is. They realise that Nathan Guy is the Minister of Primary Produce, but based on the body language of the front bench today, he's not going to last long. No. Not only will there be losses of personnel, but sir, I quite liked him. I met him in the government, the parliamentary Golden Oldie rugby team, but I think Horowhenua is going to see a great deal, much more of him. Unfortunately for Horowhenua. Now, sir, I want to come back to the forestry resource. Why not promote wood so that it takes a place of pride in the $40 billion rebuild and ensure that all major designs, major architecture work has as a model how timber, how wood, to enrich the forest sector, associated industries can be utilised in the Christchurch rebuild. Not necessarily going to cost an inordinate amount of dough, but it's actually reintroducing something that was there prior to Stephen Joyce going through, indiscriminately going through, sir, a whole host of policies that Mr Anderton had left for him to advance on. But being the narrow-minded, partisan, know-all that he is,
then Mr Anderton's contributions were soon forgotten about. So the final point that I'd make...
No, you've run out of time,
No.
unfortunately.
Mr. Speaker.
Get it next week.